The Detroit Lions were one of the most surprising teams in 2022, and they followed that up by having one of the best off seasons in the entire NFL. From signing big fish free agents to bringing in some of the biggest names in the NFL draft, they have drastically improved this roster going into next season. Detroit has actually brought in 4 potential starters in free agency and 3 more potential day 1 starters in the NFL draft, as well as a ton of high potential players. In this video, I'll be breaking down the entirety of the Detroit Lions draft and how they can shock the world in 2023. However, before we jump into the video, make sure you guys do me a favor, smash that like button. Let's see if we get the video up to 400 likes. It helps out the channel so much. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will be covering the Lions and the rest of the NFL all year long, so join the family. This is the place to be. One last thing, comment down below, who do you think is going to be the biggest sleeper in this year's draft class for the Detroit Lions? Without any further ado, let's jump right into today's video. Now, as we all know, some of the Lions' biggest needs going to the draft were tight end, linebacker, and they also need to solidify some depth at maybe safety and defensive tackle as well. Now, the great news is they absolutely smashed the draft and got so much better in so many different ways. Now, the one thing I want to point out is the fact that the Lions defense was pretty, horrendous last season, and they were going into free agency knowing that they would have to address pretty much the entire defense going forward. Now, in free agency, they added a ton and pretty much overhauled their entire secondary with the addition of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, Cameron Sutton, and so many more. With that being said, the Lions wanted to focus slightly more on their offense in this draft, and they actually brought in 5 new offensive draft picks in this year's draft. The first one being a brand new running back in Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, the writing was on the wall for DeAndre Swift. It seemed like the organization was kind of ready to move on from him. Even though they had a brand new running back in Dave Montgomery, everyone pretty much thought that it was going to be Dave Montgomery and DeAndre Swift's backfield from here on out. But man, they surprised us, sending DeAndre Swift to Philadelphia. Now, as for Jahmyr Gibbs, this was one of the most shocking picks early in this draft. Like I said, almost everyone predicted that the Lions would, have Swift and Demont as their top 2 running backs. However, they pretty much knew the whole time that they wanted a brand new dog in Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Gibbs was clearly the second best running back in this draft, and the Lions clearly valued his talent. He is one of the most versatile running backs in the draft, with his ability to both affect the running game and the pass game. Now, with Jameson Williams suspended for the first couple of weeks of the season, look for Jahmyr Gibbs to get a ton of work early on, both in the running game and receiving the ball. Now, he won't be a workhorse off the bat, but he definitely holds the skill, the potential, the ability, the capabilities to be a 3-down running back in this league very soon. Now, a very shocking pick here for Detroit. However, I love the fit, and I think it's going to really pay off for the Lions in the long run. Now, with their second pick, they decided to go back to defense and get a linebacker with Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Now, Campbell fits a massive hole, or fills a massive role at middle linebacker for the Lions, whose defense allowed 5.2 yards per carry last season, which was 3rd worst in the entire NFL. The nation's top linebacker is on his way to Detroit to be a massive upgrade in that department. He's a 6'5", 250-pound linebacker, and he was dominant at Iowa, finishing his career with roughly 300 tackles, and 143 of those came in 2021, which tells us right away that he can be a major impactful player from day 1 going forward. Now, the Lions believe that he fits right into their system as the type of player that they want to build around this defense. Also, I love this pick, man. He's one of those guys, just a dog, man. The Lions want to go out and get dogs, and that's what they did here with another guy like Jack Campbell. Now, again, they went on and they filled another role. Like we said earlier, one of their biggest holes was linebacker. They filled that with him, and then tight end. And after they solidified the linebacker position, they knew it was time to pounce on a tight end in a tight end heavy draft class. Funny enough, it was Jack Campbell's teammate at Iowa, Sam LaPorta. Now, LaPorta fills a huge role at tight end as well. Sam is Iowa's all-time leader in receptions for a tight end in he had 153 receptions, which, like I said, all-time leader in receptions for tight end. He also ranks 2nd all-time in receiving yards with 1,700. a big-time tight end selected in the second round of this draft. We'll pair him up with Brock Wright. Now, we don't know if Sam's going to be a day one starter, but all signs are pointing it to be his job to lose right now. Either way, he will get an opportunity to be a big-time player at the next level. With another second-round pick, they went out and got an absolute dog, one of my favorite players in this draft, Brian Branch, and the Lions just keep adding amazing players to this team going forward. Now, unlike the other guys, I think Brian Branch might not be a day one starter, but he'll definitely have a role right away with the ability to earn that job early in camp. Now, like I said, he might not be a day one starter, but I would not be surprised, come week 3, week 4, week 5, he's a starter from there on. But I think right away he's going to have some guys to compete with. But the good thing about Branch is he's one of the league's or one of the draft's best tacklers. The Lions struggled a lot last year just, finishing up plays, getting tackles. And, Brian Branch is a guy who converted on 98% of his tackle attempts in 2022 and is looking to bring that same type of energy to the Lions, who needs it desperately. Another thing I love about this pick is his ability to play multiple positions. At Alabama, he played safety and slot corner, and they now have the flexibility to move all these guys around the field. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson looking to maybe be a nickelback. He can move back to safety. You can also have the guy Brian Branch from Alabama. He can play safety. He could play nickel. It doesn't really matter. I feel like Brian Branch, when he was at Alabama, spent the majority of his time in the slot position. So I would not be surprised to see these guys get moved all around the field for the most of 2023. Now, with the Lions' last second-round pick, they took a potentially their future star quarterback, Hendon Hooker. Now, obviously, this is a guy who most likely won't get a lot of playing time in the regular season unless there's an injury, because Goff is proven to be a reliable, and they'll probably stick with him for the time being. However, Hooker has tremendous upside and the ability to be the future of this team in a couple of seasons. He'll get the opportunity to learn, develop, and get ready for his opportunity, but Hooker will also step in and be one of the best backups right away as well. Last season, Hendon Hooker was unbelievable. In 11 games, he put up 3,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, while completing 69.6% of his passes, and he also rushed for 430 yards and had 5 rushing touchdowns as well. A dual threat, high potential quarterback on his way to Detroit. Now, before we finish off the last 3 draft picks here for the Detroit Lions, do me a favor, smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. Comment down below who you're most excited to see in 2023 for the Lions, whether it's a second-year player, a rookie, a new signing, or whoever it may be. Let me know in the comment section down below who you're most excited to see, but let's get back into the video. So, Detroit wanted to add some more interior defensive help, and they did just that by adding a third-round pick, defensive tackle Broderick Martin out of Western Kentucky, a guy who has a lot of upside, but definitely needs a lot of work and development over the next few years. He's 6'5", 337 pounds, and in 2021, he put up 31 tackles, 1.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and overall, just very raw, very talented, but has some work to do. Fun fact, he actually wasn't invited to the NFL Draft Combine either, but the Lions still valued him pretty high to take him in the 3rd round. Martin is another one of those tough defenders, physical, athletic guys who will do whatever it takes to win every single rep. Although he won't be a day one starter, he might be a huge role player down the line in a couple of seasons. Amazing potential and should be a great player for the Lions in the future. Now, from here, the Lions had a couple of late round picks that they strictly just want to add some depth to some positions. Now, in the 5th round, Detroit wanted to add to their already dominant offensive line by adding former William & Mary offensive tackle Kobe Sorsdale. Strictly a depth addition who adds value and upside. A 6'6", 301-pound tackle who started 46 games at William & Mary. He's been known to be a great run blocker, but he does need to develop, in the passing game a little bit more. I think he's a solid player. Not a bad selection. I like him, but I do think he has some work to do. Lastly, they drafted a wide receiver in Antoine Green out of North Carolina. With Jahmyr being suspended for the first, 6 games of the season, I think they just wanted to bring some more bodies in camp to add some more competition and just versatility with this wide receiver group. And, Green's a guy who averaged 18.6 yards per catch in 2022, bringing in 43 catches for 798 yards and 7 touchdowns. Overall, I love this draft class for the Lions and truly believe that they might have had they might have added 4 potential starters for 2023 and a couple more future guys as well. The Lions continue a dominant offseason and now have the scariest roster in the division. And I mean, just look at their roster. You got Marvin Jones coming over from Jacksonville. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Jameson Williams will be back eventually. You got Antoine Green, Khalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy looking good from last season. The offensive line, we already know, is some of the best in the league. You pick up a left tackle in the 5th round, and then you got Sam LaPorta at tight end. You got Brock Wright, James Mitchell, guys who can really step up and be big-time players here in 2023. You got Jared Goff. You got the future and Hendon Hooker. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. Still got Mohamed Ibrahim and Craig Reynolds in the backfield as well. I mean, everywhere you look, this offense looks good, and it was good last year, so only expected to get better this year. Defensively, you still got John Comiskey, Ali McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike. You got Aiden Hutchinson coming over, and he's probably going to have a big year in 2023, trying to, add on to his rookie season. You bring in Broderick Martin. You got Isaiah Buggs, Romeo Okwara, Malcolm Rodriguez, Alex Anzalone, the first-round pick Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin coming back over here, where he really started off his career in Detroit. He was amazing, left for a season, and now he's back. You got James Houston, who broke out last season, the former 6th-round pick, Julian Okwara. I mean, dude, Emmanuel Mosley, Tracy Walker, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Cameron Sutton, CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mean, dude, everywhere you look, there's a ton of depth, a ton of guys who can step in here and be great players here for the Lions in 2023. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to be contenders this year, but man, do they look good. Do they look scary. Give them maybe this year, next year, maybe next year they could be true contenders, but this year I can see them being big-time playoff threats for real. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this Lions roster right now. Do you think they have what it takes to be, Super Bowl contenders, or do you think they maybe are just 1 year away? Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button, subscribe if new, join the family. I got you guys covered with all the news in the NFL. So join the family, turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.